Hi, I'm John and welcome back to my Lair of Action Figures, where I'll be talking and reviewing action figures from different manufacturers. Today I'm going to be having a closer look at Anakin Skywalker Dark Side version. This is a Toy Fair exclusive of 2018. As you can see, they did him with his Sith eyes. Of course, this is a follow-up onto the Anakin Skywalker, the regular version that Hot Toys did. But this is going to be who came out about the same time. So the reason why I'm doing this, it's again because of the rooted hair version. Versus the non-rooted hair version or plastic version if you prefer. But personally, before going into more details about what you have in the box and a bit more about this figure, the problem is this figure has a huge mistake on the box. Now, of course, he's called Anakin Skywalker. Now, technically, that would be not his name at the part of the movie this is happening, because this is happening on Mustafar, the only time we see him with his Sith eyes, or on Mustafar. So could he have had it during the Jedi Temple? But it doesn't really matter. The moment that he cut off the arm of Mace Windu went through the window because Palpatine force lightened him through it. So is he dead? Not dead. This is a video for another time, or maybe speculation for another time. But if he is already the dark side, he should have been called Darth Vader. So I don't know if that's a misunderstanding from the part of Hot Toys, or I don't understand why Lucasfilm did approve it. Calling him our Anakin Dark Side version does not make sense. Anyway, let's jump back into to this figure. So this figure came out in October 2018. Can't remember when it went for pre-order. And I have a price that I think is correct, but I could be mistaken. He was $275 when he came out. Of course, if you purchased him from Asia, you would have known him under MMS486, and if you purchased it from Sideshow, you would know him as 903,622. So let's have a look at what we get in the box. Now, before jumping into what do we get in the box, let's talk a bit history. Of course, if you already saw my other review for the Anakin Skywalker Light Side story, you will know that the movie came out in 2005, May 2005, played by Hayden Christensen, and it was played also in the Film Festival of Cannes. Now, as I was pointing out when I was doing the video, as you can see, we have the red Sith eyes over here, and of course we have the inscription over here that it's Anakin Skywalker Dark Side. Now, this box does have a problem because at the moment he became a Sith Lord, if we can call it like that, or he turned to the dark side. He was no longer Anakin Skywalker, he became Darth Vader. Now, of course, you can pinpoint out that the Sith eyes, he only had it at one part of the movie, and it was to give a bit of a version of him to turn into the dark side, but this is, we get it for maybe like 20 seconds in the movie when he's fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi. He doesn't have the Sith eyes. He does only have it when he's when he lost the high ground situation. And this is something that is really a shame that they didn't put the thing calling him Darth Vader instead of calling him Anakin Skywalker. Now, this doesn't really make sense, but this is something who's a bit strange that they decided to go with it, and giving a lot of speculation to a lot of things. Now, I'm going to be opening this box, and I will be talking about something that is pretty disturbing. So, of course, you can see the different scenes from the movie. The packaging is always really nice, but something that really disturbs me about this figure, before I'm going to be unboxing it, is when I got this figure, I saw that I had a brown shipping box, and when I opened it, I said, this is weird. The figure seems to be moving a lot. Then there's some paper there, and there was a letter from our great friends at Sideshow. So I would like you to tell me if you also got this kind of letter from Sideshow, if this ever happened to you, because personally, I'm not a fan about it. So, dear value collectors, when you unpack your item, you may notice that your collectible has been previously opened, as a representative from the quality control department has opened your item in order to personally inspect it. if there's any flaws or damage before shipping. Now all the rest is blah 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 and this kind of stuff. Now personally, for a figure who's an exclusive that is supposed to be mint in box. Now the problem is this is not mint in box. Now if I would have never opened this box and said, well, hey, by the way, I don't really care about having Anakin Skywalker on the dark side version of the things, I would say, hey, why not? I don't care. I don't really care about having this figure. But if I would have sold it and I would have sold it mint in box, the person could have come to me and said, hey, this figure is not mint in box. It was open and somebody tampered with it. So I would have to reimburse him, or I would have to do something. And I would have no means to return to Sideshow saying, hey, by the way, this figure is open. I want a refund because I had to repurchase, I had to resell it or give it back to the client. This is something that I do not find acceptable, and I really do not like the fact that Sideshow did it. I understand the reasoning, but again, you're shipping out the boxes, people are asking you to ship in the brown box and not open, and you would send it out. The Hot Toys, Sideshow repackaged it and decided to put this in. And for me, this is something who's not acceptable because somebody's going to be complaining and you're going to be getting your butt kicked on that part. So again, Sideshow, not really cool going into it. If you cannot really trust your clients, I know I'm going to do a video about that, about some of the scammers who are out there trying to rip you off, and got many of those people that I got some free figures from, and that will be for another video. But frankly, I get this figure even if there's maybe a slight defect or some kind of stuff. You are going to be proposing me a $20 gift card, or you're going to tell me ship this figure back to me, and of course I'm going to take the $20 gift card for a next purchase due to the fact that this figure will not be any more available, and I would should have to live with the fact that this figure was not perfect. Anyway, before unboxing, we're going to have this, and we're going to have a look at the unboxing of this figure. So let's dive in and see what we get in this box. So of course we're going to be removing this little plastic thing over here. As you can see, we have of course the stand over here from the part of the high ground. This is before he decides to jump, but this is even before that, because see, he's on the platform, and this is before coming face to face with Anakin Skywalker, who is something that's not going to make sense. But as you can see, here we have the little droid who's picking up the lava. The effects are pretty neat. As you can see, it is battery operated. Of course, we do not have the batteries included, but this is a pretty neat, detailed little nice piece over here. Now, would I have liked to see maybe a stand on it? That would have been not too bad to have, but as you can see, this looks pretty neat. Of course, I guess the lights come on also over here on the droid. There's a lot of detail going into this little accessory, who's really neat to have. So of course, I'm going to check over here, because over here I do have the little leaflet that I didn't have with the Anakin Skywalker, so I can just remove this. I'm going to stick this over here, and let's have a look at the leaflet that we get with this figure over here. So of course, let's open it, so not to get any kind of little issue over here. Let's just forward it over here, and let's have a look at it. So of course this can be interesting because it's going to give you some little details about how to do the things on it. So it tells you how, of course, to remove the arm, how to clip it in, what way to do it, telling you where not to go. So I mean, everybody kind of figures out how to do it. Now, of course, this is a pretty hard part on it when you see how the arm has to be clipped in and out. Would have liked to see a little button maybe there to pop it in and pop it out. Would have been very interesting. So of course you have the whole explanation on how does it work, how do we get the things moving, the different hooks that you can do to hook it on the lightsaber. It tells you what kind of batteries you have. Oh yes, it does. So you can remove over here. I didn't see this, of course, like I said, unboxing, but this part over here lifts up. Yeah, that's pretty neat. This is something I was not thinking they did, but that's this one, 10 out of 10 for this little platform. Really looks great, as you can see, the different information over here. So of course, this is always something who comes in handy. I always keep these little bags. Normally what I do, I put the manual back in here, take all the extra parts if it fits in here, and keep it separately so I don't lose any bits and pieces of it. Now, surprisingly, of course, we have the Anakin Skywalker's blade. Of course, this pops out exactly like the other one. So you will have the little hole over here to put these little parts into it. So yeah, that's a nice little add-on. Now, something was surprising that we didn't get with the first version of him is this movement of the lightsaber. Now, I think this is a bit of a shame that we didn't give it on the first version. It would have been a nice little add-on. Of course, over here we have the little extra pegs that go with the figure. We get basically exactly the same hands as we get with the regular version. So let's have a look at those hands. Again, Hot Toys really doing a fantastic job in the paint application. The hands look really wonderful. They are really, really fantastic in the way they look. And of course, we have the glove version of these hands over here. So of course, this is, like I said, this is exactly the same hands we get on it. Could we have got some weathering? Hey, yeah, we could have got some weathering. It would have been not too bad to get some. Now, of course, over here, we have the little lightsaber. This is exactly the same kind of arm that you got with the original version. And you also have the same arm over here with the original version. Now, again, we don't really see him with this arm over here. So, this is going to be left for my final thoughts about it. Of course, we get the 3 little batteries. And of course, we get over here Anakin Skywalker. So let's have a closer look at the head sculpt. Now, I do think they did a pretty good job. It's exactly the same head sculpt as the previous version. As you can see, he does have his Sith Lord eyes. I'm going to be careful not to touch this platter. So, of course, this has all the little same things. It's basically exactly the same figure as the other figure, but just with the red eyes. So, of course, he does come with his fist hand over here. Whoops. We'll have to be careful because, like I said, was not a fan that this figure was open, because I don't know if somebody was touching the platter over here. So this is something that is a bit of a problem. But as you can see, the figure itself is basically exactly the same figure as you get. So again, pretty neat figure. Of course, we get the little stand to go onto this part over here, who does kind of make sense if you want to put it on over here, and then you clips it in like that's as simple, and then you regulate the height of where you want to put the figure. Yep, I mean, this little set here, really loving it. Now, as you can see, you also even have a magnet. That's something that may fall off over time, so you might want to be careful about it. The one big thing who's missing, we're not getting a stand like we got with our former version, and this is something that's a bit of a shame, that we're not getting a little stand like this to go with it. Instead, we can only pose him. So, of course, as you can see, if you're going to be posing this in a vitrine, you will have to be really careful, because this gives this extra height to the figure that you may not have the place in on a shelf or in one of your vitrines. So this is a bit of a shame if you don't want to put it on over here. Like I said, also, if you want to be really nitpicky, why not make this a USB plug? That would have been also more interesting. Now, I'm going to go into my final thoughts. I'm going to be removing all of this, not in the video, and I'm going to be assembling and putting up this stuff so that you can see, and I'm going to also give you my final thoughts about it, and do I think this is a collectible item or not. So, while I'm going to be telling you about if this is a collectible item, I'm going to give this guy a little spin, but I wanted to have a quick put with the batteries. So of course the batteries are easily put in. As you can see over here, we're going to do this and I'm going to give you my thoughts about it. Now, of course, due to the fact that the artisan version came out, this one may have a bit of a tendency of not going up in price, but I still do think that this figure has a better collectible point than the other figure that came out with the rooted hair. Now, I can understand everybody wants a new shining figure, but personally, I think this figure here is way superior to the one that they did with the rooted hair. As I said, as I explained, the problem is as long as your hair is fit properly and is held in place by one of those little plastic bags, then it makes it very easy to solve that problem. Now over here, the fact that it doesn't have rooted hair is something that I highly appreciate, and I think this is something that is really neat on that behalf. And this is why I still think this figure still has a bit of a collectible value. I guess some people will be more interested in selling off this figure due to the fact that there's the rooted hair one out, so you might be able to get a good deal on this figure. Personally, I think the figure looks pretty good, and I still think that this figure will still hold up to the value of the collectible item, and that you do not miss out on purchasing it. If you can get it for a good price, this is going to be a pretty decent figure to be holding onto or to have acquired. So really great stuff. Of course, I have put some batteries into here. I'm going to give you a little show, and I'm going to give it a little spin. I'm going to be diminishing the light so that we can see a bit better how it does. The lights also light up over here, but due to the fact of the studio and having the way it is, it's going to be a bit harder to have a look at this, but I'm going to give it a spin. And I'm going to cut down a bit the lighting so we can see a bit better the effects on the figure itself. So really, I think this figure is a collectible item. Now let's give this figure a spin and let me give you my final thoughts about it. So here are my final thoughts. So I turned off all the lights in the studio so that we can admire the little lights up on here and also the lightsaber. I don't know if it's because the batteries are a bit weaker that it doesn't show off, but I think this is the best way to give it. So while we're giving Anakin a little spin on the stand over here, and you can see all that he comes with, and admire him in this kind of pose and see how it looks. Well, my final thoughts about this figure. It is an interesting figure. I believe they could have made a 2-in-1 figure, and they could have gone for a DX. You could have had the 2 head sculpts, you could have had the extra lightsabers. So I really think that it's a bit of a... Hot Toys wanted to make an easy cash grab and decided to make 2 figures instead of 1. They could have made a DX figure out of this if they wanted to make it an exclusive or not. That which remains with, how do you say, our friends at Hot Toys. But I think this figure could have been done as 1 figure instead of making 2 figures. Now I'm very happy to have both versions of the figures. They come in competition of each other. The fact of having the movement lightsaber is an interesting fact. The fact of having the stand is nice. I would have liked to see all of this grouped into 1 figure only, and this would have made it a lot more interesting as a part of a collector. Sell it maybe a bit more expensive, but the 2 head sculpts would have worked. Giving the extra lightsaber would have worked. So that's why I'm going to be giving this figure a 9 out of 10. Now, of course, why I'm giving it a bit of a better note, I like the stand, what they did. There's a bit of some light effects if you've seen it going around, so it shines. I mean, this is a very interesting stand. Of course, I would have liked to get the extra stand, but if you're basically putting on the movie part, I do like this figure really a lot, and I think that they did a fantastic job on doing this figure a lot of good justice, and this is why I'm giving this figure a 9 out of 10 because of that. Of course, like I said, I would have preferred that we would have got, like I said, the other figure, but for me this is they're really a great figure. So that's going to be it for the review of my Anakin Skywalker Dark Side version from Hot Toys. If you like this kind of video, please leave a like, share, comment in the section. If you have any suggestions, please leave them on. I'm going to go and do some pictures in the darker place, so you can go and check them out on my Facebook page and Instagram page. Really fantastic. So go and have a check it out over there. The links are in the description. Also, please subscribe to the channel. This helps out a lot with the algorithm and also permits me to get to the points that I need to get monetized. So if you do it, I would be highly appreciated that you subscribe to the channel. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic day and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.